welcome back to another year with Winning Through Culture. It is hard to believe that we are going into year 3 of sharing with our listenership. Yes, that's a word, right? We're going to go with that.
It is a word now.
Perfect. If it wasn't before, it is now.
Word of 2023. Yes.
I like
Good
it.
job.
Well,
nice job.
There is the
It's
concept.
the word of the year.
Yeah, picking a word for the year. We're going to go with listenership. Well, you could really relate that to being a leader. How are you taking in the conversations that you're having and then repeating those back out into the world? So with that being said, really excited to have you back with us for another year of Winning Through Culture. It is hard to believe that this is year 3 of us sharing impactful and relevant stories, concepts, and just situations that we've been going through with the listeners that we have either had all along, so thank you for being with us, or the individuals that maybe are just joining us who've found about Winning Through Culture in a different way. So Tim and I are really excited to have a conversation about what you can expect from Winning Through Culture in 2023. And here we go.
So what can we expect?
That is an excellent question. So over the last couple of years, we have been, I think, a little bit finding our footing with what do we want to share? What are we putting out into the universe for those that wish to consume it, around ways in which leaders and entrepreneurs can stay impactful and relevant as it relates to not only their business life, but also their passions, what they do for them. And I think that's really important as we look to what you can expect from Winning Through Culture in 2023, really focusing back into purpose and passion and really what those look like, and ultimately bringing really relevant, bigger name speakers, I think is a way to put it, and guests to have dialogue around all different topics and have some really challenging conversations.
Well, I think the theme of 2022 for the podcast, for the most part, was really trying to dive into navigating, creating a winning culture in a very tumultuous world.
Mm-hmm.
And a world that went from lockdown, nobody goes to the office, to hybrid work environment, in some instances, people being fully back. And there's clearly been an adjustment. So in 2023, I really look forward to having dialogue with people that have some insights into how to not only create a great culture in your organization, but really, since culture is really about the people and their behavior, how to really tap into some of the changes in society and really create a workplace that is one that people want to be a part of, one that people want to find purpose in, and ultimately show up and be engaged. And I do think as we go into this year of 2023, if you read most of the economic forecasts, they're really, quite frankly, not all that inspiring or optimistic. And again, I think it's just one aspect of running a business and being a leader that you are constantly having to adapt. So we'll adapt as we have in the past to make sure that the topics we cover are timely, relevant, and impactful. And at the same time, both interesting and engaging, and get people to be thoughtful on how to navigate an ever-changing world. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun.
As am I.
We will seek out some very interesting guests as we have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you and I will do a couple of episodes, just two of us, to reflect on what we've learned.
Yes, there's going to be change, but I really think for us just being adaptive with what's going on in the market and in the world and just having timely conversations. And as we've discussed, we just want to put out relevant content. We just want people to listen to it, take something away, whether it's a phrase or a nugget, or even if it's a link to another podcast or another book. We really just want people to take something that is, even if it's a small sliver, that helps them improve their day, their week, their year themselves. A lot of the conversations that you and I have had, Tim, are based in the experiences in the organization that you and I work in every day. And I think it's an important distinction that Winning Through Culture, at the end of the day, for me, and I will only speak for me, and you can, of course, add your color here, but it's really to provide that experiential, learning application of the daily life that we have gone through as we have worked to build a winning culture. And we want to, I know I want to share our trial and our effort and sometimes the mistakes that we've made, because I think that everyone can learn from those that have either been in the position that they might be in today or those that have yet to even embark on that journey and are like, what could I even expect as maybe a pothole in this road that I'm about to embark on? And thinking about guests that we can bring together to Winning Through Culture that can provide that contextual element to no matter where you are and how you put your team together, or maybe it is you're considering a rebrand, or maybe you're having some really challenging conversations and you don't even know where to start, or maybe you're stuck on something. What are some ways in which you can move through that as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner? And in 2023, I want to make sure as we're coming to you in the sense of you consuming this information, that it does help you, whether it's personally or professionally, move forward in whatever you've set forth as your goals for the foreseeable future.
Well said. I think in 2023, as we move forward, ultimately, we use the tagline being relevant and impactful a lot, but that's really the purpose of the podcast, is to tackle the topics that are timely, that are kind of in here and now mode, and help leaders navigate the change that comes with that. So I think from what will be different, just as we've talked before about culture being an intentional act, we'll be intentional with the podcast in making sure, again, that things are timely and relevant. And that's the beauty of a new year. You're not really sure what will be different. You know what you want to be different, but you don't know what will be different. And I think, again, for us, it's just continuing to stay fresh and on topic to what's going on in the world at that time to help leaders and entrepreneurs navigate, again, those that intentionally want to create a great culture, some of the ways to do that, both from our own experiences, to your point, trial and effort. I like that, trial and error, and from the experiences of the guests we have. And we're going to, again, I think, have some great guests this year that will bring some new perspectives. Some of the interesting aspects is there's so much in the way of just pure, simple fundamentals that may not necessarily be quote unquote new. They may be a new discovery because they've gotten so far off track that I do believe ultimately, I know we'll touch on this year, because again, I personally am seeing a great deal of business owners I know look for restoration to simplicity and trying to find some semblance of normal, whatever that may be.
Well, and we've talked about before, people are going to be having this kind of conversation roll around in their head as we're starting the new year. And there's always the concept of, what are your New Year's resolutions? I hate that question. Every year, I hate that question. It's not so much about what am I going to now declare that I'm going to do differently, and then in 3 months be like, oh, I didn't do that.
3 months, 3 weeks.
3 weeks, 3 days.
3 months,
I don't know, whatever it might be.
Yeah, it's 3 days to 3 weeks.
But I would rather the question be, what is the one thing that you're going to come back to and like at the end of 2023 and be like, that was a heck of a year, like in the best way possible, and work towards whatever that might look like. So when we talk about Winning Through Culture for 2023, you will see some changes. And again, that's all in the adaptability, wanting to make sure, and I know we discussed it a lot and we use these terms all the time, but making sure that it's impactful and relevant and timely. But at the end of the day, we want to, again, provide contextual experiences that can help any leader, no matter if they're starting out, in the middle, have gone 3 steps forward and now we're 12 steps back, or are like, ooh, I have made it to the top of the mountain. I think we have something for everyone coming up on the agenda for this year. And our commitment, rather than our resolution of changing something, our commitment is to providing that content and putting it out there for you as listeners that really are inspired to continue along and listen to the conversations that we're having.
On the New Year's resolution, I can't help myself, but there's another way to look at that in my mind, and that is the resolution word.
Okay.
So resolving, it's in line with what you just said. It's resolving and having resolve towards something that's important to you, and not, I'm going to lose 10 pounds, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to do that, but a true resolution that you resolve yourself to for that year, that you're committed to throughout the course of the year, knowing you'll fall off from time to time. But that's what I like about the resolution word, is it's really a derivative of resolve. What do I resolve myself to? Being a better version of myself as a leader, a person, a husband, a wife, a spouse, whatever.
All the roles and titles.
All the roles and titles. What do I resolve to be better at?
I like it that way.
That's my take on it.
All right.
That way, it's not something that disappears in 3 days or 3 weeks or 3 months is a pretty long time for somebody to keep a traditional New Year's resolution. They've pretty much won the game at that point, in my opinion.
Maybe that should be a poll that we do later.
We could.
Okay.
We could add that to the mix this year.
You never know.
You never know.
Having dialogue with the conversation of, and how I say it, which is trial and effort. And I am very much a proponent of the fact that mistakes are going to happen. There is error in everything. We're human. There's error in everything that we do. But at the end of the day, if we are consistently showing up and having those conversations, having the experiences, whether they are perfect or imperfect, it really doesn't matter. You are providing the effort. You're putting in the effort to get to the result. It might take you a little bit longer if you go down a path that isn't exactly perfect, but that's okay. At the end of the day, you really want to, as a leader, sit down and have that dialogue with yourself. How are you providing effort into the team that you are working to support, into the work that you are doing, into the passion that you have for not only your purpose, but the passion that you have for your life outside of the walls of your office, whatever that might look like now. It might be your computer screen, it might be a physical office, but really leaning into that effort component, that error and mistake will happen, but how are you finding yourself through that? And how are you becoming a better version of yourself through it? And the other pieces that I think are very important for us to touch on in 2023, and we've discussed a little bit about the more challenging conversations, but it's hard. Like, I think we should just be really honest with the fact that evolving as a leader is hard at the end of the day. And you're going to have those moments where you're like, cool, I don't know what to do right now. I'm a little stuck. So what are the top 8 ways you can get through that stuck period as a leader? Those are all things that I think would be relevant to share with the population of Winning Through Culture in 2023. And Tim, I know we've had a little bit of dialogue around this, but those are just some things topically that we're going to jump into. Is there anything specific that's on your mind?
Yeah, I mean, I think the constant in our lives is change.
Yes.
And that's certainly the constant in the life of a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are better at adapting to change than others. Some people actually refuse to change and kind of stay in a time warp of sorts or attempt to. And then there's other people that, quite frankly, go around creating change as disruptors.
Just for the sake of it?
Well, in some cases, yes. And in some cases, because they're a disruptor. And as a leader, that is a leadership style, disruptive leader. And, that's how startups go and technology comes about. I mean, there's a lot of innovations that come around relative to that. So I think when you look at the constant of change and you look at 2023, who knows, right? I mean, again, economic reports are very grim. Federal Reserve's probably going to keep raising interest rates. That has a whole cascading effect. The supply chain issues of 2021 are now excess capacity in shipping.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a harbinger usually of things to come. But there's a lot of, as there has been, and as there will be, uncertainty. That's really, for me, part of the purpose of this podcast is to help leaders have somewhat of a roadmap to not only navigate that uncertainty and that change, but to rise above it and create a great culture by pouring themselves intentionally into the people around them. And yep, you may pour yourself into people around you. And the challenge of 2022 was finding good people and keeping them.
Yes.
The Great Resignation. If the economic forecasts are correct, the challenge may be that people are going to be losing their jobs. And as an employer, you're going to be having to make very difficult decisions because of an economic headwind, which again, may or may not come. So I don't want to prognosticate that as much as recognize that change is the one constant. And that's really, in my mind, Amanda, what I want to see us help leaders do in 2023 is be a guide, be a navigator, not only from our own experiences, but by introducing people to guests that have relevant experiences, kind of been there before, been down the road, or may have some insights into whatever we find ourselves faced with in the new year. And the people that listen to this podcast, my desire is for us to do a great job, to give them something that they can either reflect upon and integrate into their leadership. I talked to somebody this week that just said, hey, our conversation really got me re-engaged as a leader. Because again, it's been tough the last couple of years as a leader. 2022 has been, COVID, shutdown, open up, great resignation,
Almost kind of
economic
seems like
upheaval.
sit down, stand up, fight, fight, fight. It's like, which one am I doing? Am I in fight or flight mode right now?
Well, that wears on people.
It does.
It's true. My desire is for us to have a podcast here with Winning Through Culture that gives some people some perspective, may encourage them, may refresh them, may inform them, and ultimately equip them to be a better leader and to create a better culture in their organization, their business, the team they lead, whatever the context of their leadership is. So that's my objective for 2023.
So with that, we hope you will continue on this journey with us and have impactful dialogue through our comments and show notes. And please reach out if you are so inclined to do so. We're looking forward to this year with you. We're looking forward to having some really great guest speakers and having the opportunity just to share, again, the experiences that have shaped how we are continuing to grow as leaders, business owners, and entrepreneurs ourselves.
And we resolve to have some fun along the way.
That's right. That's right.
So.
I like that.
All right. Well, great to get started the new year with everyone that is listening with us. We look forward to the journey through 2023 with you, whatever it may bring, but make your resolution as to what you're resolving yourself to, being committed to becoming a better version of yourself. And again, here with Amanda Kramer, another episode of Winning Through Culture. Welcome to 2023. Be well.